What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another Tottenham update. Not in the studio today, but we are doing it virtually. But there are quite a lot of rumours doing the rounds today. I mean, what a day not to be in the studio. So much going on. Ali Gold has been speaking a lot today about various bits and pieces, and let's get stuck into it. Obviously, we brought you the news yesterday, or the rumours about Paulo Dybala. Well, it looks as though that has all been pushed back today, with a lot of sources coming out and talking about it. First of all, Marcelo Chirico says Antonio Conte is not interested in Dybala. The only way he could possibly come to Tottenham is if the manager changed. Fabrizio Romano says Tottenham have not open talks with Dybala as of today. There are no negotiations ongoing. And Ali Gold says Tottenham are not planning for a move for Dybala. Fabio Paratici does not believe the forward is the right fit for Conte's project. What do you make out of all that?
Well, obviously, we reached out to Romeo Gresti as well to get him to comment on the news, and he said that I asked him, is there any chance Dybala goes to Spurs? He says absolutely no chance, and I asked him to give more specific reasons, and he said that Paratici was one of the people who really tried to sell him when he was at Juventus and really wanted him out. And obviously, he tried to sell him to Tottenham and Man United back in 2019. The deals didn't go through. But Paratici apparently is one of the ones who isn't quite sold on bringing him to Tottenham. And obviously, I said yesterday there are a few reservations I have about him being in a front three with Caden Son. As much as I think they're all brilliant players, I don't know how, if in system-wise, if that would be too much of a burden on the team for him to handle. As much as I know they do their work, but they're not the most freshest of players when off the ball. So I look, in terms of a player who's got supreme quality, I obviously want him through the door, but I think there are probably players who may be a younger profile, maybe better suited to our system. Because I think a lot of Kane and Son are such good finishers. I think half the job is just doing the work for them and getting them in the positions. So obviously someone like Dybala could create space for Kane and Son. That's definitely true. But someone who can make up for, do a lot of the running off the ball that maybe Kane and Son aren't capable of if they sit at this age. So I'm not too unhappy about it, but it's what it is.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same. I mean, if you cast your mind back to when, the rumours were rife and we nearly signed him a few years back, I mean, much hotter prospect then at that age than he is kind of now. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything, and I wouldn't want him through the door. But when you compare it to like those kind of times, it's a different prospect, isn't it?
That's the reality. I think injuries have taken his toll. I don't think he's. I'm not saying he's not as good now. He's just a bit older, and sort of that age you have to start managing these players, especially with someone like his injury record. So if it's a case that we'd rather not have that headache, I can understand it.
All right, well, Ali Gold has been speaking more, and he's been speaking about strikers that are on the club's list, and it's quite an interesting list, actually, and I'll read it out to you. And it says, Tottenham will look to sign a striker this summer. This is obviously from Ali Gold, and he says, Victor Osimhen, Gabriel Jesus, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Alexander Isak, Darwin Núñez, Patrick Schick, and Lautaro Martinez are all among the list of players that the club like.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this is why it's so important to get Champions League, because pretty much you can name every single name of those strikers on Arsenal's list. You know what I mean? I think every single one of those has been linked to Arsenal. Yeah. So I think it's very important that we have that pool ahead of them if we're going to get a striker.
If you're looking at them all individually, first of all, out of all of them, who would your number one be?
Probably Martinez still.
Yeah, I said the same.
I think he would still have to be my number one. I think he's had a great season. I think Isak, I really like Isak, but he hasn't had the best of seasons this season.
Does he get enough goals though, Isak?
I think last season he did. I think he scored 17 goals. You got to remember he's still very young. He's 22 years of age. So but the problem is he's pretty good at international level, but he's only got 6 goals this season, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But whenever I've seen him, I've been really, really impressed with him. So I think he's one definitely I wouldn't be too down about if we got him. Darwin Núñez, obviously, he's raking it in at the moment.
It's only one season, though. That's the problem.
League. Yeah, but you got to remember when he's come up in the Champions League against the likes of Liverpool, he's also been scoring. So that's very important to note as well. Osimhen, obviously signed for big money for
80 million it was.
Yeah, so whether are we really gonna go higher than that for Osimhen? How many goals he
Can't
got
really
this
see it.
season?
Can't really see
14
it.
goals in 26 games, pretty good. But I don't know.
Osimhen, every time I see him play, he looks really good, and he's very consistent throughout his career in terms of his output.
Basically, what I'm getting at, I guess, is that every single one of these strikers on this list are going to cost big money. So you might, if you're gonna really splash out, you might as well go for the more proven ones and a bit more of a risk, like Martinez. DCL. Again, I like DCL. I think he's a good striker. He's had a horrible season with injuries. I think he's got 2 goals this whole season. And I don't think he's the kind of striker we need, to be honest. I don't know if that's the kind of profile we want in our as much as anything. So as well, he's going to cost a massive premium. English Premier League. I wouldn't want him right now. I like Richarlison. I wouldn't mind Richarlison, but not him.
Calvert-Lewin would be bottom of my list. He would be bottom, but I think that when you're looking at him. Yeah, I would as well. And as well with Richarlison, he's a bit more versatile and he can play a few more different positions as well. But I would have Lautaro Martinez at the top. I'll probably have Osimhen maybe as number 2. I mean, Gabriel Jesus, obviously strongly linked with Arsenal at the moment for about, I think they're counting him out for 35, 40 million, something around that ballpark figure as well. He's very versatile as well. He can play off the right. He can play up top. But would he come to Spurs to play a similar role that he had at Man City?
That's the thing. Goes to Arsenal, he's a guaranteed starter. That ain't the case at Tottenham. That's just reality. When you've got Kane and Son, he's not Kane and Son level. That's facts. But he does come into a team where he definitely gets a lot of game time, because I'm sure with Champions League football and cups and even league, I'm sure he'll start plenty of league games. So I don't think it's a case where he's never going to play. He's just in the big games. Is he going to get that starting spot? Like for City, he rarely does. I don't know if he will for Tottenham either.
It's an interesting conversation, like on Gabriel Jesus. Like if it is a straight shootout between Spurs and Arsenal, and let's say for this argument's sake, Spurs are qualified for the Champions League, right? They're offering similar amounts of money. Where does he go? Does he go somewhere where, he's guaranteed a starting role up front every single game, week in, week out in Europa League? Maybe not such a good future at the club, or not as good as maybe it can be at Tottenham. Mikel Arteta as the manager, or do you go with Tottenham where you're not guaranteed to play every single game, but you've got Antonio Conte as your manager, and the ceiling could be a bit higher, and you're in the Champions League?
I think he goes to Arsenal. I think the main reason is I think he's probably sick of not knowing if he's going to be on the bench or not, and he'll know for sure at Arsenal we went. And you got to remember, he was with Arteta at City. Arteta was obviously assistant manager, so I'm sure they've probably got a relationship, and I'm sure Arteta can convince him, look, if you come here, you'll start every game and we'll get into the Champions League and you'll be my number 1 striker. Conte can't make those promises. You can only promise that we're already in the Champions League, which might be enough of a point in itself. But I think if I'm getting into Jesus' head, I reckon he chooses Arsenal. Not because they're a better club, just because of the factors that I laid out.
Do you reckon that's the similar situation for a lot of strikers in this market, or just him specifically?
Him specifically, because he probably has that relationship with Arteta. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, you could be right there. But anyway, let's move on from the strikers. But it is a very interesting list there, and it's good to hear Ali Gold bringing up these names as well, because obviously with his links to the club and everything like that. Let's talk about Yannick Carrasco now. El Triguito is saying that Carrasco has received an offer from Tottenham, which is interesting if true. Obviously, he can play in various amounts of positions. Recently, I think he's been playing at left wing back, I believe.
Yeah, he plays there for Belgium as well a lot of the time, left wing back. So, what was it, El Chigrito? So,
yeah,
it's time. Tick tock. I love El Chigrito.
Carrasco to Spurs. Tick tock.
Yeah, I can never take him seriously after that. But look, we linked with a deadline day bid for him, weren't we, in January? There was, I think we genuinely did have a bid, didn't we? And obviously, I think we ran out of time, or they wanted too much money or something. I think he's a good player, and I think he'd be a very good. Look, I think he'd be great at left wing back, especially against teams in a low block. I think it'll be brilliant to have him through the door. I don't know if he's at the level anymore where he's that great in a front three as he used to be. I still think he's a very good player, but I think left wing back could be very, very good. I do think other players I'd have ahead of him. I think Kostic is more suited right now to what we need, for sure. If I had the choice, I'll probably choose Kostic.
He's got the age on him, doesn't he, Carrasco, on Kostic?
I think they're similar age, aren't they?
How old's Kostic?
Kostic is 29. Carrasco's
28. Yeah,
28. So very similar. I think Carrasco's probably a bit better at dribbling and taking people on and stuff like that. Kostic just has that delivery, like just on point every time. So it's about what you'd rather, I guess.
He was class in the final last night, Kostic.
He was brilliant, mate. Every delivery is on the money every single time, and just imagining those crosses into Harry Kane. I'm like, oh my god, get him in. But then again, in games which are stretched, and you need, like, for example, how many times have we seen games where we need Doherty or Reguilon or Emerson to take someone on because they're on the counter-attack and they just don't have it in them. And if we had someone like Carrasco there who could really take people on and commit players, and that opens up space. So again, he has his benefits as well. So I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to. I don't really know which player is better defensively. I'm going to assume Carrasco, just for the fact that Simeone wouldn't pick him if he wasn't. Whereas at Frankfurt, I'm sure his delivery gets him in the team before anything else. So. It's a difficult one, which one I'd rather choose. But Carrasco, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be unhappy if Carrasco came. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, I think it would be a brilliant signing for us. I really would do. And it's probably a position. Oh, definitely a position. I mean, if we would sell Reguilon and bring in Carrasco, that's an upgrade to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. And then him and Sessegnon battling out would be great. A bit of experience and a bit of youth as well.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about more potential signings. This one from Ali Gold again on Alessandro Bastoni. And he says, Tottenham Hotspur are looking for a left-sided centre-back this summer to give Ben Davies competition. Paratici is a big fan of Bastoni. Inter asking for more than £50 million for the defender. I mean, we've spoken about kind of different options there quite a lot over the past couple of weeks. And I think we're both in kind of agreement on how this guy would be probably our number one.
Yeah, for sure. 50 million. I mean, if it's more than 50 million, but I think he's worth it at his age as well. And his potential ceiling and quality and the role he'll play in the team. And as well, he knows Conte. So it's a no-brainer for me. I mean, Ben Davies has been brilliant. I have to say, I think he's been, in the last few weeks especially, he's stepped up even more than he was before. He's been exceptional. So I don't want to disrespect him by saying he needs to come out of the team, but I definitely think he at least needs competition, because at the moment, if he gets injured, there's nothing there. So
competition's healthy.
Yeah. And but look, the way he's playing, he deserves this spot, that's for sure. But we definitely need another player in there. And Bastoni, I think, would be an unbelievable coup.
I completely agree. Another centre-back in Gleison Bremer, Calcio Mercato, are saying that Tottenham are a serious competitor to sign Bremer this summer, having followed him for a very long time. Torino manager Juric has publicly admitted that the centre-back will leave this summer. So what's your opinion on Bremer?
Yeah, I know he's very aggressive. Centre-back. He's had a great time at Torino past couple of years. Really had a breakout season. So I think for sure he's one we've spoken about before as well. I think he adds competition to, I think, Dyer's position, I would say, probably, or Romero's position on those sides. And I think he would add good quality depth. I don't know if what his contract situation is. I don't know if he's available for cheap or not. But I've heard very good things about him. And apparently he's even more aggressive than Romero, I'm hearing. No, I'm not sure he's better. I'm not saying he's better than Romero. I'm just saying more aggressive, which is hard to think of.
Yeah, it is hard to think of. But, if we can imagine like selling Joe Rodon and selling Davinson Sanchez and bringing in Bastoni and Bremer. I mean, it's just like worlds away from where we are.
Yeah,
it's mental to think about these kind of players coming in. Next up, Jed Spence, obviously on loan at Forest this year. Ali Gold is saying Tottenham are expected to make a move for the 21-year-old Middlesbrough wingback Jed Spence. If his loan club Nottingham Forest fail to get into the Premier League, Spurs are also one of the clubs looking at his Forest teammate Brennan Johnson. Paul O'Keefe as well was commenting on this on Twitter, and he says, I expect Spence to happen, barring a disaster.
Wow, so he seems pretty certain. It's great news, and he's been brilliant. I watched them in the semi-final. I thought he had a brilliant game as well in that game again. I thought he was our most dangerous player. obviously there's always going to be question marks when he's from the Championship whether he can make the step up. But look, at that age, it's worth taking a risk. Would I want Jed Spence plus one of the wing backs we currently have? I mean, in a perfect world, probably not. I probably want two new ones. But maybe we've seen a lot of big improvement in Emerson recently. We've seen a massive improvement in Doherty. Maybe Conte's seen something in one of those two where he feels like it's worth keeping them on, plus having Spence, and that's enough. Especially if we're going to have a super attacking left wing back in either Carrasco or Kostic, it could balance it out a bit. So, look, Spence, I'm going to be very happy if we bring him through doors for sure. But it'll be interesting to see what we do at right wing back, who we keep, and if we do bring another one in.
Yeah, and I get people's reservations, coming up from the Championship and stuff like that. But you got to remember, like, there are top quality wing backs in the league right now that have come from the Championship. When you look at Angie Robertson, and when you look at Reece James,
he
as
played
well.
in the Premier League. Liverpool signed him from the Premier League.
He did, but Hull got relegated that year, and the year before that he was in the Championship, wasn't he?
Yeah. But so Spence hasn't had a year in the Premier League, has he? That's the problem.
Yeah,
What you would say is, whenever he's come up against a Premier League side, he hasn't looked out of place, has he? So that's a big barometer for me.
He was unbelievable against Arsenal. And Reece James as well, wasn't it? He's come from Wigan before Chelsea.
Yeah, I always like to see, like, as a barometer, like when, for example, when foreign team players are going to move to Premier League teams, how they perform, say, in Europe against a Premier League team, and usually that's a decent barometer whether they can cope with it a lot of the time. And I know Spence, every Premier League team he's faced, he's been not just good, he's been a star of the show. So that goes a long way for me.
Yeah, I'd love to bring him through the door. I really would. And Paul O'Keefe seems pretty confident in it. So happy days
watch
there.
This space.
Yeah. Next up, Weston McKennie. A couple of updates on him. First from Calcio Mercato saying Tottenham are ready to deal with Juventus for Weston McKennie. They want to sign him with a similar deal structure like done with Bentancur and Romero. Gazzetta Italia saying Juventus could look to sell Weston McKennie this summer for 40 million euros. Tottenham are monitoring Weston McKennie along with a number of Premier League clubs, also showing interest in the midfielder. Another Juventus cast-off?
Yeah, why not? I don't know if
bring them all in, mate. Bring them all in.
I don't know if they can call it a cast-off, but
yeah, but you can't call Bentancur and Kulusevski cast-offs either.
They're not cast-off. So look, they're a big part of there was a big part of Juventus' team, as much as maybe they were happy to get rid of them. But look, I think in terms of we heard about McGinn, now we're hearing about McKennie again. I think this is how Paratici, we know how he operates, isn't it? He likes to get a lot of people lined up, and then they go for who they really want. So I think McKennie would be a brilliant signing for me as well in that central midfield, along with I think McGinn would be a very good signing as well. So who'd I rather? McGinn's obviously Prem proven, but he's a bit older than McKennie, I think. So,
and also McKennie's going to be a bit cheaper by the sounds of things.
So yeah, maybe I'd go for McKennie. But McGinn, definitely, you can do it in the Premier League, that's for sure. So that's obviously a thing in his book. But look, McKennie would be a great signing for sure, and definitely boost our profile in America.
Yeah, that's for sure. Next up, Henrik Mkhitaryan, Alfredo Padula saying Tottenham are one of the teams interested in signing Mkhitaryan on a free transfer this summer. Obviously, been at Arsenal, been at Man United. Neither of those were particularly successful.
Well, you can say that again.
Yeah, so I was just being kind to him, but what do you reckon? I mean, I thought he's been having a pretty good season at Roma this year.
He has. He's actually been decent for a couple of seasons now at Roma, to be fair to him. So, not to knock him. It was obviously brilliant at Dortmund before he joined United. But what is he? Must be in his 30s now, 32, 33. I don't know what position you want him for. What you want him in the front three? It doesn't really make sense to me, Mkhitaryan. So, and just you add that to the fact that he's failed miserably in the Premier League at two different clubs. To me, it's a no-go. I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. And last but not least, Sam Johnston, which we've spoken about loads in the past. Ali Gold says that Tottenham are set to bring in England international goalkeeper Sam Johnston on a free this summer. So it looks as though this one, we've said it all for the past few months, haven't we? That it looks like this is going to happen. And now Ali Gold really just confirming that.
Maybe they're just waiting for Champions League football to see if we can afford it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We wouldn't be able to pull Sam Johnston in without Champions League football.
I hope he's not one of the six. I hope it's 6 plus Sam Johnston we'll bring in this summer.
It's got to be.
But yeah, look, well, looking forward to when it's confirmed. I've always said I'm happy for him to come. I think he's going to be a good backup. But yeah, all good. We'll see.
All right, so that is your Tottenham update today. A lot of interesting news coming out with some reliable sources today. So some stuff to get excited about, but got to finish that job this weekend against Norwich. We'll be back tomorrow with all the pre-match content in the build-up to the last game of the season. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.